Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Tanner's Favorite Things. I'm Tanner Knight, and today we're going to talk about this guitar, which is the first guitar in the Gregg collection, is what I'm calling it, that we're going to showcase. And if you missed the first teaser video that I just put out earlier this week about the Gregg collection, I talked about 6 individual guitars, of which this is one of them. But they're all shredder style guitars, which means we have a Floyd Rose tremolo, we have a relatively flat fingerboard radius, like a 14 or 16 even degree radius on the fretboard. Other than that, the definition's kind of nebulous and vague, but you see guitars like Super Strats show up in this category, or like Steve Vai's The Gem. All of these guitars were built for guitarists who play really, really fast and very intricately, and hence they need a shred machine. So this particular guitar, however, does not have any professional guitarists associated with it. It's not a signature model, but it is an Epiphone USA product. And you might be scratching your head, Epiphone USA, didn't they just now in the last 3 or 4 years switch over to having an Epiphone USA option? And you would be correct in assuming that, but throughout the years, there have been different runs that have been made at the Gibson factory in Nashville that say Epiphone and are branded Epiphone. And for whatever reason, they have Gibson specs, which you'll see on this particular guitar in a minute here. But this is a USA-made Epiphone out of the Nashville Gibson factory. This particular guitar is just called the Pro, the Epiphone Pro, or Epiphone USA Pro maybe. It's hard to tell online about the branding, but it does say Pro right here on this little inlay on the 23rd and 4th fret. So it's the Pro for all intents and purposes. But don't get this guitar confused with the Pro-1 or the Pro-2, which are models that were made in the Korean Samick factory later on in I believe the later 90s. This is a 1989 guitar, and this particular USA run of guitars had a little bit of a run from 89 to I think 94 is what I saw, but this is an actual 89, and yeah, it predates the Pro-1 or Pro-2, which consequently looks identical to this in design. It has the carved top, has the Floyd Rose or licensed Floyd Rose, the ebony fingerboard, the maple neck, etc. So that's kind of the lineage of this guitar. It does have another model that takes this design and runs with it a little later, but this is the USA version built in the Gibson Nashville factory. So let's deep dive a little bit more into this particular guitar, and then we'll hear a little sound sample, and maybe if you want to buy this guitar, we can talk. Okay, so we have a poplar body, which a lot of people kind of stick their nose up at poplar as a tone wood. I don't know why. I think it's kind of light and maybe not the straightest of hardwoods. It's kind of like a softwood. But this is a poplar body, and you can't really tell because it is the ebony paint job, the same Gibson ebony color that you see on SGs and Les Pauls. So this is a carved top. I don't know if you can tell from that kind of rotation, but you can see the light is hitting it differently based on the carve of the top. So that's kind of a premium feature. You don't see that on these Super Strat style guitars. But I think that might be due to the fact that we did need a little more space due to the Floyd Rose, because this is a big tremolo. And it is a Gibson branded tremolo. It says licensed by Floyd Rose, so it's produced by Schaller in Germany, but it was licensed through Floyd Rose, branded Gibson. Kind of a circuitous journey to get this trem on this guitar that's branded Epiphone, but it is Schaller made, licensed by Floyd Rose, and branded Gibson. So it works like a Floyd Rose. Otherwise, your string locks in here via Allen key, and then you have these little fine-tuning adjustments, because you do lock your nut right here so that there's no funny business between here and the tuners. So that's the point of the Floyd Rose, so you can really wangle on the strings, like you can take all the tension off. And it doesn't go back and tune perfectly because it's an imperfect system, but it's better than its predecessors for staying in tune and giving you a real large interval whammy bar option. The back, as a result, does have the familiar Floyd Rose tremolo cutout, as well as a pocket here for your controls. We'll have to take a look at what our pots look like, but I have a feeling they're kind of the big Gibson style ones from the late 80s, early 90s. So we'll take a look at that. This is a 4-bolt neck, so that's kind of a departure from Gibson territory, but it's not a departure for a super shredder style guitar. Most of those are bolt-on necks instead of set necks or through necks. It's just kind of the way it is. Ebony fretboard with, I believe these are mother of pearl dot inlays. I couldn't find any information about the inlay material, but they look like mother of pearl. They could be acrylic. Hard to say. The one thing about this particular ebony fretboard on this model is I've noticed a few of them call out cracking, and I don't know if you can see this. I'll have to get my macro lens out, but there is cracking on the fretboard vertically this way, and it just occurs in a few different spots. It's nothing that affects the play, like the string will not get caught inside of that, and if you were to condition this fretboard, it would close up those gaps pretty well, but as is, you can see them. There's noticeable cracks on the fretboard. I think that might have to do with the stock of wood they used or the flat radius. Whenever it kind of shifts with the neck, it's not used to flexing as much, so it cracks. I don't know, that's kind of my theory on that, but it is an ebony fretboard, really beautiful. And these dot inlays are kind of offset up on the I guess base side of the fretboard, so that's kind of cool. Nice little design with the Pro inlay at the very top there. So that's actually, I mentioned it quickly, but it's the 23rd and 24th frets it's between. This is a full 24 fret range, I guess. So you can get 2 octaves on one string. Kind of cool. And behind the fretboard, we do have a multi-piece maple neck. I thought it was multi-piece. I guess it's a single maple neck, so it's nothing fancy there, but just a nice maple neck with the typical, I want to say 13-degree setback, maybe more, could be 14 degrees, but it does have that Gibson setback without a scarf joint. So a lot of times you'll see a scarf joint right here where they just put the setback from a different piece of wood on the maple neck, but that's not the case here. We do have a USA truss rod cover. Pretty sweet. We'll have to take a look under that to see what condition the truss rod is in, but that's really the only indicator kind of by the naked eye that this is the USA version versus the Pro-1 made in Korea version. So I guess someone could find one of these truss rod covers and be a little clever, but there's some other indicators that we'll point out along the way as well. Speaking of the back of the neck and the back of the headstock, this is where we have our Gibson-esque serial number. Let me see, I guess it's probably better like this, where you can see we have 819-49704. And if you read this like a Gibson serial number, it's 89, or the year, 89, and then it's the 194th guitar it's the 194th day of the year, and then this is the 704th neck that they stamped in that day. So that's exactly how Gibson does it. They have the Made in USA stamp there as well. So very Nashville-esque from the Gibson factory. And in fact, this is an Explorer style headstock, so they didn't even depart too much there. This is the same exact headstock that you'll see on the Gibson Explorer, and just so happen to have one right here. This one's painted on the back, but you can see same style. This is a 25.5 inch scale length, so very Strat-esque there, not very Gibson, but you know, I love a longer scale length on a guitar like this, and they make it real simple, 2 knobs, but there's a secret. Our tone knob has a coil split, I believe, or coil tap, one of the two, and these 2 simple knobs therefore give you 3, I guess, tonal options. So the volume knob is just regular on or off. The 3-way switch is 1, 2, 3, nothing special there, but our tone switch does have the push-pull functionality. Pretty cool, pretty early on for a push-pull pot on a guitar like this. And what it's supposed to do is kind of imitate a Telecaster, a little twangy, more single coily, and then when you pump it into the neck pickup, it's super stratty. So very versatile as far as the tones that you can get out of this guitar. Obviously, the humbucker is where most people will live. Speaking of humbucking pickups, this is a Seymour Duncan. Not exactly sure what model this one is. I'll have to ask Greg. But this is not the original pickup. These came with Gibson Bill Lawrence pickups, I believe, typically. And those are like the circuit board style pickups that Gibson was developing in the late 80s. Really fine sounding pickup, but I think when they died and you couldn't fix them. So a lot of people swapped them out for Seymour Duncans or DiMarzios or something like that. So that's not uncommon. I do believe this is the original single coil in the neck though. It looks pretty similar to all the other examples that I've found online so far. We have mini Grover tuners on this guy. Always a nice function. Grover tuners are great. And the minis, they don't take up a lot of space. It's just a nice spec to see. Our strap locks are Schaller in style, I would believe. So those have been replaced and I don't have the originals. So they're black, they match, that's cool. Otherwise, that's the guitar. This is everything that you didn't know you wanted to know about the Epiphone USA Pro. I would call these frets medium jumbo. I couldn't find a spec on those, but they feel medium jumbo, just really just meaty, but not too meaty. I like them, they're in the middle. And everything else is very original, like the locking nut pieces here, these are all original. The tuners, the screws, the knobs, even the whammy bar itself is original to this guitar, and it is the screw-on Floyd Rose style. So really great shredder axe, and I'm sorry, I'll apologize in advance again that I don't have shredder chops to really show you some George Lynch licks or whatever on this, but I'll give you some tonal samples and let you decide for yourself what you think of this Epiphone USA Pro. Okay, I figured it made the most sense to plug this guitar into the 5150, which is not an Epiphone product, but it is from that era in rock where people wanted more gain, more heavy gain, and that's what we're gonna get. So this is the Epiphone Pro M into the 5150. I do have it going through my pedal board, so we'll experiment with a few different pedals and the lead channel itself. But capturing the sound, we have two microphones, the Sennheiser E906 right on, I don't know if you can see it in the shot. Yeah, in the left speaker here. And then I have an Audio-Technica 4033 SE condenser microphone about 4 feet, 3 feet right in front of that cabinet. So we should get a pretty good representation of what this guitar sounds like through this orange PPC 2x12 cab with creambacks. All right, so we're in the humbucker. Here's some clean. So this guitar hasn't been played in a couple of years. It's actually been in storage for a little bit, and its tuning is pretty rock solid. I had to make a few fine-tune adjustments with the little fine tuners, but other than that, it's been in tune and stayed in tune, so I'd say that's a pretty good sign for this Floyd Rose system. So that's our clean humbucking channel. Let's go to the neck and hear our Stratty sounds. So that is much quieter. I think that's only due to how much lower that pickup is. That can be adjusted. You can see the humbucker is pretty close to the strings, and then the single coil is a little deeper into the body. So it is quieter as a result. Here's the middle. to play in the middle. I rarely get into the middle on these guitars. I like either or, but it's there. Let's hear the coil split. Well, first of all, here's the humbucker again. Let's split that. I don't know if I'd call that Telecaster-y, but it's another sound in here that's an available option for you. So, we didn't come here to hear the cleans on this guitar, we all know. Let's go ahead and kick in the lead channel on the 5150 first, go right to that punchy gain on this amp, and hear what it sounds like. This thing rips. This is a fucking awesome guitar, and it sounds great through that lead channel. Let's hear a couple different pedals, starting with the Nauticlon. I want to hear how this sounds with the PV rhythm channel, and just see if this is a usable kind of rhythm crunch channel. Okay, that sounds okay when you turn the treble up. The Nauticlon is not nearly as gainy as the 5150 on its own, so somewhere in between. Let's hear the metal zone. Since we're in that high gain territory, go right to the metal zone and see how that compares against the lead channel. That sounds like crap. I think that's a little too high gain for this situation. So metal zone, I don't know. I've very rarely found a situation where the metal zone doesn't work, but let me try to tweak a few settings, see if I can get it to sound a little better. It's okay. I can't say that I love that sound as much as I do the lead channel on the 5150. So let's just go back there, screw the pedals. We're going right into the gain section of this amp. Modified Slayer for you. Don't want to get copyright stricken here. So you've got all of those frets up there, and I don't have any of those skills, so you'll have to imagine for your own decision-making process. So what can I say about this guitar? It's great. It feels freaking awesome. The action is perfect. Sometimes these Floyd Roses have the tendency to kind of pull up and make the action a little wonky, but not the case here. It's just super low, super fast, as fast as I can play. And it's just a very straight neck, very just straight as a die, nothing needed on the truss rod, and great guitar, ready to rock and roll. If you play 80s hair metal or 90s hair metal or regular metal, or even approaching kind of the new metal or djenty stuff that happens in the 2000s, I think this guitar would really, really do well for you. The Seymour Duncan pretty much screams. It's awesome. You can coil split it or tap it. I'm not exactly sure what the correct terminology is there, but can take some of those coils out of the circuit. And the single coil is very Strat-like, so it's very versatile. You can bust into some Stevie Ray Vaughan, some Hendrix, Jeff Beck, you name it. You can do it with this guitar, and you can crank up the gain, get into that humbucker, and then just chug away till your heart's content. So, is this guitar your next new guitar? Let me know. If you want to purchase this guitar, we can talk in the comments below. It will eventually make it on Reverb and be for sale there, but if there is someone out there who would like to broker a deal outside of Reverb, then I'm always for that. So let me know, and we can try to make it happen. So let me know if you like this style of content, if you like these style of guitars. I've got 5 more coming your way here pretty soon. So this is 1 of 6 from the Gregg collection. Maybe we'll get a little more beyond that after this set. So let me know what you think, like and subscribe if you do like this content, and hopefully I will see you on the next one. So as always, I like to end things with a bit of a loop so you can hear this guitar in the context of a mix of drums, bass, and another guitar. So let's go ahead and do that right now. I'll record a couple loops and then play a little bit of solo on top of that for you so you can get an idea of that full sound.